So I was just wondering if you could explain to me and how you view coaching and how you got started into this world.
Sure. Well, first of all, I acknowledge you, Caden, for creating this. I think it's pretty cool that you're doing this podcast and looking to support other I don't know what are you, Gen Z? Is that Gen Zers?
Hmm.
Interested in kind of exploring opportunities of what's out there in the world, what kind of cool jobs there are and things like that. So I acknowledge you for getting into action around this. I think it's pretty cool and an act of service for people out there who are listening and paying attention to the work you're doing. Um,
Thank you
so
so much. It means a lot. It means a lot.
yeah, right on for doing this. It's pretty cool. So coach, I think if you asked 100 coaches what is coaching, I think you'd get 100 different answers. Some of them very similar, with little nuances and things like that. Um, Coaching is mostly born out of the sports industry. So, if you talk about coaching in sports, everyone's like, oh yeah, coach. I totally get coaching in the realm of sports, but when you start to take that out and bring it into the realm of business or life or anything else, it starts to feel a little more abstract. And so, how I think about coaching in the sports context, it's like somebody who helps an athlete extract their best to get the best of their performance and what they're capable of, and that lives in the realm of the mental as well as the physical. I don't know if this story is true. I think it, for the most part, it is my understanding of it that, like, Tiger Woods, when he was at the top of his game, hired a different coach who to help him dial in his swing. And he was already at the top of his game, and the coach observed him and checked him out and gave him some tweaks to make that actually made him worse, like a slightly worse, because of, like, he had to adjust. But overall, once he got it, his performance dramatically increased even more. And
Mm.
so a coach is really looking for, where are the tweaks, where are the opportunities, where are the ways that we're thinking about things, what are the thoughts that we have that are helping us, and what are the thoughts and beliefs that are holding us back. And a coach is meant to really sit down with someone and get curious about them, curious about their beliefs and their thinking, and how they're kind of going about their lives, whatever it is they're working to make improvements on, and then help support them in kind of untangling their thinking or creating new beliefs, sometimes pushing them and applying pressure and challenging them to step up and go beyond their comfort zone, all in service to leaning into their potential. And that's limitless. And so
Mm.
what I love about coaching is that it's never ending. Like, you reach one level, and then it's like, okay, well, now let's look at what the next level is, and then the next level, and it keeps going, because we are limitless. We can always expand and grow and learn more and everything. And that's part of what I love about coaching, because it, like, really helps people connect with that, become aware of that as even a possibility, that most of us don't think that way, and then helps them actually experience it and start to live it. And so that is how I think about coaching. I think you asked how I got into it.
Yeah, but that was great. Thank you. It really is like exponential. I like that analogy with Tiger Woods. That was great. I'd never heard
Yeah.
that one before, where he like initially performed worse, but then once he got the hang of it, once he absorbed the advice, he skyrocketed and became Tiger Woods.
Well, he was already Tiger Woods at the time when he got his coach.
Mm.
I watched a documentary on this, so take whatever it is that maybe there's nuances to the story. And I do know that he was already Tiger Woods. He was already, phenomenal at what he did.
Mm.
And he knew there was another level, even at the top of his game. So it
Wow.
really is infinite, right? And so no matter where we are, we could be, I've coached everyone from CEOs of multi-billion-dollar companies and parents, that stay-at-home moms and teachers and everything in between. And it's like we all have another level. We
Mm.
all have challenges and beliefs that aren't helping us, that are holding us back in different areas in our life. And so there's always an opportunity um, to support someone with connecting with whatever that different level is.
Going from graduating college to now becoming a coach, what was that journey for you?
Yeah. So I mean, I guess the starting point was in my teenage years. I started experiencing a lot of depression, a lot of anxiety. I had a lot of low self-esteem. Just it felt really challenging to be me because I was locked inside my mind and had a lot of negative thoughts that were not helping me at all. And so it was painful, it was challenging, and I started looking for answers. I did therapy, and then my mom was real into personal development, and she brought me to a weekend workshop at some retreat center, which was fascinating because I went in on a Friday and came out on a Sunday, and it was called the Happiness Weekend, and I walked out of there and I was like, oh wow, I feel like so different. I feel so much better and elevated, and it was really cool and really really interesting that like I could have that experience in such a short amount of time.
Wow.
But you can't change it all in a weekend, unfortunately, because after the experience, I would go right back to
Mm.
my a term that is used sometimes in coaching is like your emotional home, your center of gravity, kind of where you tend to live, the emotional experiences you feel the most often. And mine was depression and low self-esteem and all of that. It wasn't long before I went back to that space inside because that's just kind of where I was at the time. But it was the start of this awareness that there was something else, something I could do about it. There were answers out there. And so I just started looking and reading and going to different workshops. And it wasn't until I was in my late 20s or mid 20s, I think, where I discovered Tony Robbins. You familiar with him?
Mm. Hmm.
He's like a big personal development guru, coach kind of person. He's the one who introduced me to coaching as a profession, as a concept, etc. And I was really obsessed with him. I was just he could turn around anybody in like 10 minutes of working with him. It was fascinating to me. And so I started to really want to know how he did what he did, and he had a certification course, and so I did that certification course, and that was sort of my entry into kind of coaching. But I didn't do anything with it as a profession for a number of years after I
Mm.
got certified. My story can dovetail into the retreat part because I think you're interested in that as
Oh,
well.
absolutely. I saw that I did a little bit of research and I saw that you worked with companies. Was it scheduling retreat in Latin American countries? Is that
Yeah.
what it was?
Yeah, so out of college, as part of in order to graduate, I needed an internship, and I had found this company that was doing volunteer internships abroad, and uh, and so I was like, oh, that's interesting. I love to travel, and they had an internship in Peru um, that was installing cleaner burning stoves in the highlands, the high Andes of Peru. This was like a volunteer abroad company. It was like a pay for experience type of thing. I think the term for it is like voluntourism, where
Whoa.
it's like you're doing tourism but volunteering at the same time.
Hmm.
And So right out of college, I did that for a couple of months and loved it. It was incredible. And I had, connected with some of the people there that worked there, and they invited me back to be like a staff intern, a volunteer staff intern the following summer. So I said yes to that. I went down for what was supposed to be 3 months, and then I ended up working for them for 7 years.
Wow.
And so that's what got me into retreats, because essentially what we did with this what this company did was we'd bring groups of volunteers down. The majority of them were college students, and we'd bring groups of them down, um, and then we'd create these experiences for them. Right? Sometimes it would be individual groups of individuals, like not connected, and then sometimes like a school would bring down 20 nurses or something like that,
Mm.
and they would be their own group. And we'd set them all up with adventures, with projects, with homestay families, and just create this whole experience for them that was profound and life changing. And the focus was more on like the tourism element. It was more about the experience and,
Hmm.
call it experiential learning, but in the realm of, learning about service and learning about the world and things like that. And so I did that for 7 years, and I learned how to run retreats, group programs, and make them exciting and efficient and fun and and transformational. And then when I became a coach, actually, my wife is a coach too. She was a large part of the impetus for this. She worked for the same company and she had similar skills. She was a coach before I was a coach, and so I think this was initially her idea was, let's combine the coaching experience that we have with the retreat experience that we have of like creating international group programs, and sort of pair them so that
That's so cool.
it's like it's truly like you're doing deep inner work while
Mm.
also experiencing the world, because and using the world and whatever we were doing as the catalyst for transformation. Like how can we use, for example, the grudging trek up the mountain of Kilimanjaro as a reflection of your life and how you show up to life and things like that. How could we create an experience and go to Machu Picchu and sort of take awe and wonder and aliveness as a context,
Mm.
apply that to your world? Like how do you bring some of that back, and what are you doing that's in the way of preventing that from being present for you in your life and things like that? And so that's kind of the connection to how we started to create coaching retreats and transformational retreats.
Wow, that's so incredible. I guess I never really thought about drawing the analogies from being out and doing retreats and like climbing the mountain and comparing that to your own life and how you relate to life and how you relate to problems
Yeah.
and I guess seeing your own power. That's such a cool way to find those similarities.
Yeah, it's super fun. Uh, um, your uncle, uh, he was the one who did the Kilimanjaro trips,
Mm.
and he would ask this question of people interested in joining. He would say, "Well, what's your Kilimanjaro?" Meaning, what's the like daunting task? What's the thing that is like seemingly impossible in your life that you've been holding back from, that if you challenge yourself, if you really leaned into it, you could gain ground on it. You could climb whatever that mountain is. For me, it was overcoming depression and working on my mental health and really kind of finding a healing path for me to connect with who I really am and find some inner strength and things like that. That was like a huge part of my journey. Um, even through today. I mean, I don't think that ever really ends, that discovery. But it's different for everybody, right? And the metaphor applies for everybody in
Mm,
whatever way that is for them, right?
absolutely. What was the what was the education you obtained to be a coach, or what education would you say is required for someone who's looking to go into coaching or interested in that field?
It's an interesting question. It's a good question, and it's not that there are straightforward ways of answering it, but the straightforward ways are kind of incomplete.
Mm,
I'll explain what I mean. There's a million and one different certifications out there for becoming a coach. And there's no requirement to be certified in order to coach. Like you don't have to have any certification at all. You don't have to have any learned skill to sit down and coach with someone because we're not a licensed industry.
mm.
Uh, we're not a what's the word? We're not governed or anything like that. There are governing bodies that hold ethical standards and things like that, but it's not legal in that regard. Yeah, that may change. So coaching itself as a career is a very low bar for entry, meaning anybody can be a coach at any point, no certification, no nothing. They can just hang their coach, sign up and be like, okay, doors open, let's go. But low bar for entry, high bar for success.
Mm.
Because it's not easy to be a really good coach. And that's that's where yeah, certifications, trainings, learning about, how to work with people and what are tools and strategies and systems and things that help guide people's thinking and things like that. That is extremely helpful and an excellent starting place. But that's really just the starting point. I would say one of the biggest requirements for being a coach is doing your own work, like
Mm.
being willing to actually do the what we refer to as the inner work, like really start to challenge your own thinking, start to face whatever the demons, the struggles, the insecurities and the fears. And what I love about coaching is it's one of, if not the only profession out there that kind of requires you to do your own work in order to be good at what you do.
Wow.
It's not just, I mean, it's obviously the more you coach, the more experience you get, the
Mm.
better you're going to get. But the more you do your own work and actually apply all of this stuff to yourself and experience your own growth and healing and facing your own challenges and fears and stretching yourself, like until you actually experience that, it becomes a lot more difficult to help someone else through that because it's not the same as you go to medical school, you learn like this medicine treats these symptoms and things like that. Yeah, it there are some parallels, but not to the level of depth that where real coaching, like true, profound, deep coaching, makes a big impact.
Mm.
So that's
Right.
what I mean when it's not really a straightforward answer.
Right. That makes sense. If there's such like if the barrier entry to low is low, it makes sense that the success would be high because there's so many coaches out there. What separates a a good coach who's practicing what they preach between a lesser coach who
Yeah.
doesn't exactly follow everything they say? I saw that you do three different types of coaching, but I just wanted to ask, what is the difference between executive coaching and life coaching?
Um, yeah. There's not a huge difference, I would say. I think it sometimes it boils down to what we're coaching around, like the topics.
Mm,
There are I wouldn't sometimes there are sort of tools and strategies and things like that
mm,
I will use more often in an executive coaching context. Uh, more than I would use in life coaching, but it's not to say that I wouldn't ever use something that I use in life coaching and with the corporate people that I work with and vice
Mm,
versa. It's more kind of topic dependent and the sort of general focus of what we're working on. Because underneath whatever title you have, you're still a human being. And so whoever I'm coaching the human. And in that regard, I'm coaching the same kinds of fears and tangled thinking and misbeliefs, et cetera, whether you're in the corporate sphere or in general everyday life. Right. And sometimes again, there are like some tools and strategies that are
mm.
more commonly supportive in one environment over the other, but the focus tends to be the same.
What would be your average day coaching?
Um, my average day looks like coaching and emails.
Mm.
I'm at my computer a lot. The majority, I mean, right now, all of my coaching clients are virtual. So I coach from my home office. And then in between sessions, I'm doing follow ups, I'm answering emails, I'm
Mhm,
connecting with current clients or potential clients. I mean, that's the vast majority of what I do.
mhm.
Um,
As a coach and sort of an entrepreneur, do you find that the work follows you?
yes. Uh, I will say that I have to create my boundaries, which are sometimes easy to stick to and sometimes not, right?
Mm,
But I'm the generator of those boundaries, and so I have to create the intention to stick to them. Yes, I mean, I guess I would say it's as an entrepreneur, like there's rarely a clear outline structure of your time because there's always other things that you need to do, could be doing to grow, et cetera. Like you're responsible for the success of your business. So sometimes it's hard to kind of be hands off.
what's your strategy to implement coaching into the trips you lead?
Well, there's a few things, and a lot of it is dependent on the kind of trip.
Mm.
So
So what are the different kind of trips? I'm curious.
yeah. So for example, um, when I take a group to Peru, for example, every day is different. We're doing different things. One day we're going zip lining as a group in the Sacred Valley, and that's sort of like the adventure of the day. Another day we're going out into a community and doing a service project. Um, Another day we may be going, out and doing like a cultural experience, and then there's like a main event of the day, so to speak, and then uh we'll typically gather as a group for an hour and a half to do coaching, reflection, um things like that. So it'll be more intentional about like creating a sit down experience where we can gather and do more kind of specific coaching in that regard. um and sometimes at the beginning of the day, I'll give people something to chew on that day, like a question or an idea or a thought. So
Hmm.
that's one style where there's a lot more room to sit down, have those group sessions, and there's a little more spaciousness and things like that. When I led the trip to Kilimanjaro, we're hiking all day. And then we get to our campground and we're exhausted. Nobody wants to sit down in a group circle and do coaching. So, so what I did was I gave people questions every day for if they found themselves hiking solo and wanted their solo time, they could just sit with that and reflect on their own. And if they wanted to hike with a partner or in a small group, then them as a group could use that as a discussion, an inquiry for them to explore and get curious about with each other. And and sort of you bounce those ideas around. So there was depth to their hiking experience, and it wasn't just uh, again, hiking, you can just kind of, for lack of a better way of saying it, just sort of shoot the shit and just be like, yeah, we're just being buddy buddy and
Mm,
social and which is great. That's
hmm.
fine. I hope it's okay that I said.
Oh, no worries. Yeah. Yeah, just being like breaking boundaries. Yeah, no, don't worry about it.
um, And my intention was to help them create more depth in the conversation, to go
Mm,
levels deeper, so that
mm,
we got out of the surface and
hmm,
levels deeper to get more into how they thought about life, their world, some of their deeper feelings and beliefs that we don't always offer and share with people.
mm, hmm,
So, I had to sort of hand it over to them in a way and empower them to engage in more coaching-esque style conversations. And then if we could, and if there were energy for it, towards the end of the day, we would have some group discussions, but that got less and less as the as the hike went on.
As the oxygen got thinner, high up the mountain, I bet.
Exactly. Yeah.
Oh
It
man.
was 7 days. So it was yeah, it was a lot.
With your profession, what are some of the pros and cons?
I mean, I in a funny kind of way, I would say a pro is needing to do the inner work,
Mm.
and a con is needing to do the inner work, because it can be very confronting and uncomfortable. And so there is a requirement for, I guess, a willingness, if you will, to yeah, to get uncomfortable, to do that kind of, to look at yourself and your own opportunities. Um, and a pro, financially, is you're an entrepreneur, so it's really up to you how much money you make. And a con is, it's not easy. It's I mean, I don't know if there's a entrepreneurial, endeavor out there that is quote unquote easy, and it's not easy. So it requires work. It requires showing up um, day after day, being consistent, treating it as a profession, um, which again could be a pro or a con depending on how you feel about that. A pro is, I mean, you get to connect with people at levels that most people really don't, with like a wide variety of people,
Mm,
because we have really deep conversations. I get to really know a lot about people, and it's beautiful. And I love it. And which helps me because it reminds me that, I'm just as human as everybody else. And it sort of levels the playing field a little, because again, it doesn't matter what your title is, like, you've got insecurities and fears and doubts about yourself, and things that you hide, and everybody, it is the human experience. And so it's beautiful to be reminded of that with everyone that I talk to. And and a con, yeah, is that, it is vulnerable. But again, depending on how you think about it, but it can be very uncomfortable, right? And learning how to be a good coach is an uncomfortable process, for sure. It's not
mm,
easy. You can't hide,
mm.
not if you want to be successful, which was challenging for me because I love to hide.
Yeah, it definitely, I, in my own life, it definitely, most of the time, it's easier to just like hide than confront the challenges. Absolutely.
Yeah, which is why I acknowledge you for doing this, right? This is you not hiding.
Mm. Thank you. Yeah, it
Yeah.
took a while for me to get comfortable, like seeing myself on screen and having a conversation. It
Yeah.
still, still gets me nervous, but
Yeah. Yeah.
thank you. I
I get it.
appreciate it.
Mhm.
So after conferring with CEOs and other entrepreneurs and with so many humans, would you say your definition of success is?
Well, I think all of us as humans, no matter what we're doing, we're all striving to be okay with ourselves, to like find that level of comfort and love and satisfaction and appreciation and gratitude for ourselves, and to have the inner experience where we can really believe that, connect with it, trust it, etc. And I think no matter who you are, or what career you have or whatever, we're all kind of pursuing some version of that for ourselves.
Mm,
And quelling anxiety and fear about, what others think, or how can I, make my parents proud, or how can I prove that I'm worthy, or um whatever we're chasing, whatever like sense of just like relaxed confidence, love for ourselves. I think we're all chasing that in some way, shape, or form at every single level. And so I would say the pursuit of that and the awareness of that as a pursuit, and the to whatever degree you can continue to create that more and more, I would think that lives in the realm of where success lives. And because from that so much occurs, right? When there's more trust in yourself and love for yourself, and when you're a lot more grounded in that, it's a lot easier to be out in the world and be open to whatever experiences come your way. It's a lot easier to create friends and acquaintances and people in your world. It's easier to create business and money and all the things, right, that we
mm,
say we want, but usually we say a lot of them we want that because we think it's going to help us deal with the anxiety and the insecurity and all of that stuff, right? So actually going to the source and working on that, and making incremental um, growth in that area, I think is at least how I might define that.
like you said, getting out of your head, getting out of your thoughts, and becoming more grounded in reality and having that calm confidence. I I've experienced in my own life and in after graduating high school and during high school, just a lot of anxiety and worry, especially among friends and fellow students. If you had one piece of advice for someone who's experiencing that and would benefit from getting out of their head, what would that be?
I have a few answers rolling around. One of them is going to sound cheeky, but it's real. Don't do it alone. And what I was actually going to say is get a coach, and that was the cheeky part. But the reality is, like, don't navigate that on your own, because it's
Mm,
really hard to do on your own. The majority of the growth that occurred for me was uh, in response to being supported, guided, coached, etc. through it. Um, and and I wanted to do it on my own for years. And the more I sort of let myself kind of give or open up, I guess I would say, to the vulnerability required to let other people in to the reality of what's going on and like receive their support. Um, the Because there's a lot of people that have really phenomenal answers out there for whatever your challenge is, and helping them share that in a way that can really support you. Like, you never know what is the thing, the tool, the nugget of wisdom. You never know which one is going to hit you. That undoubtedly is the thing that made the biggest difference for me
Mm.
is being coached, going to workshops and going through processes, going to therapy, like having help from other people to kind of help me see things that I couldn't see and challenge me in ways that I couldn't challenge myself and stretch myself outside of my comfort zone in ways that I wouldn't have pushed myself to do. I needed to be challenged. And in some ways it was, because I want to be liked by you. I want like to win your approval. And so I'm willing to challenge myself, but I knew it was in service to me and my growth. So yeah, I guess, yeah, that's my message. It's like, don't do it alone.
Mm.
Don't face that alone because it is
Mm.
hard shit to do alone. I know from experience.
I feel like who better to hear that from than from someone who's been through it than from someone who deals with that as their profession. So thank you so much for sharing that.
Yeah, my pleasure.